Welcome back to today's Verified Live. Let's turn to the war in Ukraine because President Macron says 26 countries have signed up to contribute to Ukraine's security once a ceasefire is achieved. These would be part of a reassurance force in Ukraine or be present on the ground, in the sea or in the air. Speaking after today's summit of the so-called Coalition of the Willing in Paris, he said US support for the security measures would be finalised in the coming days. Well, with me is our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse. And James, the difficulty for a gathering like this is the sort of almost illogical position that they're talking about what happens after a ceasefire when there is no ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, these endeavours are still very much political rather than some kind of military blueprint. You've just said, 26 out of 30 or so countries are willing to send troops, but there are notable absentees from that. Italy, Poland, yes, supporters of Ukraine, but clearly unwilling to provide boots on the ground to sustain some kind of peace. You heard the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, again call for a ceasefire to be put in place first before any kind of lasting peace deal. And what I think they're trying to do at the moment is to show Donald Trump who they need for those boots on the ground, who they need for that military equipment. That is inescapable for the Europeans. I think what they are trying to do is say, look, we are willing to commit as much as humanly possible. We just need you. And I think they're also trying to strip away the noise and show or reveal the Kremlin's unwillingness to engage in peace and put the brakes on its invasion in any way.
So many of the roads actually lead back to the White House and to Donald Trump because they were talking about upping the pressure on Russia. And so far, the US president has resisted any obvious moves. And that is a real problem, isn't it, for the Europeans who may want all sorts of things, but it has to be delivered in part from Donald Trump.
Yeah, and Donald Trump has the ability to apply pressure on Vladimir Putin to change course. That is the consensus. So at the moment, you have a Kremlin that has not really changed its demands. You've seen Vladimir Putin just yesterday talk about pursuing his military goals as long as there isn't a lasting ceasefire in place. It is true that Donald Trump has put on these heightened tariffs for India, for continuing to buy Russian oil and gas. We've heard today that he reiterated his disappointment with some European countries like Hungary and Slovakia for continuing to buy Russian oil. That might be an avenue for Donald Trump to apply further pressure on the Kremlin. But at the moment, it is not sufficient in the eyes of the Europeans for Moscow to make Moscow change course in any way.
James, we have to leave it there, but thanks very much. Thank you.